Thunder!
Hey everybody, how's it going? We gotta talk about that Kirby Air Riders direct from last week, because that direct somehow got me way more excited for this game than I thought I could be. Who would have thought that the best way to make more Kirby Air Ride was just to make more Air Ride? I've seen a lot of mixed reactions online with people saying how they wish that there was way more to the game and how it feels like Air Riders is just rehashing the original game, and while I understand where people are coming from, you gotta realize that while Kirby Air Ride has become a cult classic, it wasn't exactly a smash hit on release. So to me, I've always imagined that Air Riders was going to be less of a full-blown follow-up and more of a take-two for Air Ride, if that makes sense. Instead of focusing on completely overhauling everything and packing the game full of tons of new content, it looks like Sakurai is focusing more so on refining what already worked for the first game and just making Air Riders a much more polished experience, and personally, I'm more than happy with that. However, there was a decent amount of brand new content in the direct, so I still want to give my thoughts on it. First off, the fact that Sakurai just started out by talking about the newly fleshed out roster spoke volumes to me. He not only fulfilled a popular request for more characters on the roster, he also totally destroyed the idea of the so-called Sakurai bias of him only catering to games that he was directly involved in. He did this by showing multiple fan-favorite modern Kirby characters being present in the roster. I am interested to see how big this roster ends up being, because based on the footage in the direct, there is still a large empty space on the character selection screen. While this could just end up remaining empty, Sakurai is usually pretty deliberate when it comes to design choices, so I have to imagine that we're going to see a lot more characters on the roster. As for machines, we got a good mix of both old and new. The new machines that were shown off look really interesting to me, especially the new chariot type machines. As for the returning machines, it seems like we have pretty much every single machine from the original game coming back. The only ones that we haven't seen are the wheelie scooter, the Formula Star, the Flight Star from City Trial, and then of course the legendary machines being the Dragoon and the Hydra. I'm assuming that these machines are still going to be in the game though. It would feel strange to bring back pretty much every single old machine from the original game and just leave out a few. Also, there is no way that the legendary machines don't return for City Trial, like you have to have them in. Now on to the modes of the game. Air Ride looks better than ever, and I'm actually really excited to try it out this time around. I never really played much of Air Ride in the original game, but with the addition of more riders per race as well as the new online capabilities, I see myself spending much more time in this mode. The general gameplay seems a lot more refined as well, and based on what we've been hearing from hands-on previews, it seems like the game plays extremely well, which is awesome to hear. All the new courses look extremely fun to play on as well, but I was kind of surprised that we don't have a single returning course from the original game. Not a huge deal if they don't show up, but at the same time I wouldn't be shocked if at least a few courses do return. As for more general gameplay changes, the addition of a second button is a really interesting choice. I like the new unique specials that all the riders have, but I do still think it's a bit odd to have a dedicated button for specials, but still have copy abilities tied to the same button as boost. It's not a big deal, but it's just something that I noticed. Oh, speaking of copy abilities, I can't believe that Sakurai really did just give copy abilities to every single character. I had a feeling that he was going to do something like that, but maybe have a unique way of making it work, but no, all riders can just use copy abilities just like Kirby. Not really the solution I was expecting, but honestly, it works. Alright, now it's time to talk about City Trial. I really liked how Sakurai was fully aware that City Trial is the mode that everyone cares about in Air Ride. The new map looks awesome, and I'm glad that it's a lot bigger than the original map. I will say though, I'm a bit bummed that this does seem to be the only map for the mode, but to be honest, I'm still not fully sure I believe Sakurai when he says that this is the only map for City Trial, especially considering the fact that he knows how important the mode is to Air Ride fans. Who knows? At the very least, I could see maybe a second map getting added down the line as post-launch content. As for everything else with City Trial, it seems to be pretty much unchanged. The way that Stadium works is pretty much the same, events are returning, the general gameplay structure seems largely unchanged from the original too. The only real major addition seems to be the new events within the City Trial run itself. I think that this is a good addition, especially with the higher player count, because it allows for even more opportunities for competition before reaching the Stadium event. And that pretty much does it for content that we know about. But Sakurai did say he hasn't shown us everything, and that he hopes to talk more about the game fairly soon. So let's dive into what we could still see in Kirby Air Riders. Like I said in regards to the roster earlier, I still think we're going to get more characters. Whether that's through the game at launch or DLC down the line, I still think that we have yet to see some notable characters represented in the game. In particular, I was shocked not to see Marks on the roster, considering how Superstar is one of the more notable games that Sakurai worked on, and Marks is already a boss in Smash Ultimate, so I have a feeling that we're going to see him at some point. point. Of course, fan favorite characters like Tyranza, Adeline, Animal Friends are likely to show up at some point, but I also think that we're going to get more common enemies as character slots as well. Aside from a select few, I really didn't like too many of the so-called NPC racers in Mario Kart World, but it feels a little bit different for Kirby Air Riders solely because I feel a bit more of an attachment to Kirby's enemies because they've been playable in previous games. This also allows us to get more silly characters like Cappy or Starman in the game, and honestly, I'm probably going to main Starman when the game comes out. I really like this little guy. As for machines, I really don't think much more needs to be said, other than I hope that the missing machines from Air Ride that haven't shown up yet still end up making a return. I also wouldn't be surprised if there are still a few new machines that Sakurai didn't show off in the Direct. Okay, now for the bigger stuff, the more unknown elements of the game. I want to start by talking about Top Ride. Now, I'm not a huge Top Ride fan, but with so much stuff returning from the original Air Ride, I think that it's weird that Top Ride didn't show up in the Direct. So here's the thing, I think that Top Ride has a high likelihood of showing up still, but that's not the main reason I want to talk about it right now. See, many people have been speculating, even before the Direct aired, that Top Ride is going to return based on the profile pic for the Kirby Air Riders Twitter account. In this profile picture, we can see what looks to be a toy-like Kirby riding on a Warp Star, and while I totally see why people think this could be for Top Ride if they're going for a more stylized look for the mode, I've personally been thinking ever since the account went live that this is our first look at some sort of collectible in the game. The background of the image, in my opinion, looks sort of wooden. I'm thinking this could be similar to the gacha capsules from Kirby and the Forgotten Land because those are also viewed in-game on a wooden table. It might seem like a bit of a stretch, but I genuinely think this is our first look at some sort of collectible for Air Riders. But the question is, where do you even collect these? I think we might have gotten our answer to that at the end of the Direct. Most people, myself included, have pretty much come to the consensus that the teaser at the end of the Direct was teasing a story mode of sorts. I mean, come on, it's pretty obvious. We get this super high budget looking cutscene, and I really don't see where else this would come into play, so with Sakurai still saying there's stuff left to be revealed, I'm willing to bet that this is in fact story mode. While it's hard to say exactly what form the story mode could take, there are some details in the teaser that I want to go over. The biggest part of the tease being the character that we see. This strange character riding across a barren wasteland that seems to be a brand new character. My initial thought was that this character might actually be a new design for the Dark Matter swordsman from Dreamland 2, based on the dark outfit and cape as well as the spiky black hair reminiscent of Dark Matter swordsman's. I have seen some other people online saying that it could also be Dedede possessed again, and I can see that perspective as well. The wheelie bike he's riding being similar to the one Dedede had in the original Air Ride, the headband or crown design being extremely similar to Dedede's, even the character's just general structure looks very reminiscent of Dedede. However, the more I think about it, I think this is more than likely a brand new character. I do still think this character has some connection to Dark Matter though. Now hear me out. When the character first shows up, we see this dark void-like orb with a bunch of tendrils coming out of it, and it quickly descends from the sky. As it moves along the ground, it almost seems like the character takes form from this strange mass. We can even see the exhaust pipes take form on the character's face in real time, along with a bunch of dark particles coming off of them as they ride along the wasteland. My theory is that this is some sort of shape-shifting character with no real defined form. We've seen Dark Matter take many shapes and forms across the series, some with a stronger connection to Dark Matter than others, but my point is, while this character has some similarities to other characters like Dark Matter Swordsman and Dedede, it might be just that, similarities. I'm thinking that if this is some form of Dark Matter, it's just using all of its prior knowledge in order to take on the most ideal form. I even had a much more crazy idea that the character is actually the wheelie bike itself and the quote-unquote rider is just a construct made by it, like some sort of mimic. I mean, the wheelie bike has a big eye, Dark Matter has a big eye. Okay, saying it out loud, that idea really does sound crazy. In all honesty though, it's really hard to say exactly what this character is or what their role might be in a story mode, but it's definitely piqued my interest. But enough about the character themselves. There's another part of the teaser that I really haven't seen too many people talking about. When we see the first full shot of this mystery character, there are a few interesting things in the background. There's like this strange structure in the background that's a bit hard to make out, but it seems like a point of interest. What's above this structure though has me really curious. They seem to be small floating islands of sorts. What are they meant for? I'm not really sure, but I do find it extremely interesting that we see floating structures in this teaser after Sakurai made sure to explicitly point out that City Trial now takes place on a floating island with the distinct name of Skya as well. Could this end up not meaning anything? Maybe. But like I've said before, Sakurai always seems to do things with a specific intent in mind. He doesn't really strike me as someone who does arbitrary design choices. I'm thinking that there's a much bigger picture for Air Riders that we have yet to see. Now, as for what I would want in this hypothetical story mode, I'm not expecting it to be some insane new mode in terms of gameplay. I see it being much more like World of Light from Smash Ultimate, where there is still a story, but in terms of gameplay, it would just be different races or stadium events tied together through cutscenes. I do think that story mode could be where more characters are unlocked, and maybe that's why Sakurai didn't reveal the full roster in the Direct. In the end though, all of this is really just fun speculation at this point. What we've already seen looks absolutely amazing. I'm just really curious to see what Sakurai could still have up his sleeve. I have a feeling we're going to find out sooner rather than later. There's a rumored Nintendo Direct for September, so maybe we'll see another small trailer there. I wouldn't even dismiss the possibility of another Sakurai Presents before release, but what do you all think of Kirby Air Riders so far? Did you get everything you wanted from the Direct, or are there still some things you'd like to see added? Let me know down in the comments. I'd like to hear your thoughts on this. But for now, I think that's enough out of me. So if you like this video, feel free to like and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next video. Later.